Let's talk about negative vortexes. It's that concept that's thrown around now of somebody or yourself who gets into this phase where everything is kind of negative and you start to tear everything around down with you. That looks different if you're the person who's at the center or if somebody else. Let's talk about when I am the center of a negative vortex. Me personally, when that happens, I go into my mode of being extraordinarily deep. I kind of close myself off from the outside, and by doing that, I start to alienate all the people around me, my wife, my kids, and that negativity starts to bring them down. The hardest thing about being in a negative vortex is that you can't always recognize that you're in it. You don't realize that you're having this impact on the people around you because you feel like either I'm calm or I'm faking it, but other people see right through it. They have this ability to sense that you're not in self, that you're not in essence. What do you do when you're in a negative vortex? When I'm in the center of my own negative vortex, it's hard for me to recognize it because I try so hard to fake my way out of it. And many of us do that. We think that we can fake being present. We think that we can fake being in a good mood. But people around us, they sense it immediately. They have this ability to sense that we are not present, that we are not in essence, and they sense that negativity, and that's the power of it. It's an intuition. And when you deal with someone, no matter how often they tell you I'm in a good place, if you feel they're not in a good place, there's some truth to that. So for me personally, I've had to find what are those things that call me out of that negative vortex. Sometimes it's the simplest things. It can be music. For me, it can be being in a beautiful place. It can be talking to a member of my tribe. But the work for you to do is to understand what are those pieces that will bring you out? What are those pieces that have the ability to suck you out of that vortex and allow you then to go back into self? I love the analogy of the undertow in the water. And I used to think that if I were ever out in the ocean and I felt the undercurrent and it pulled me out to sea, I used to think that I should fight back and swim. Apparently, that's not what you're supposed to do. Apparently, when you're in the water and you get sucked out by the undertow, what you're supposed to do is relax and let it carry you out. You let it carry you out, and when it weakens its hold on you, you then have the energy to swim back to shore. But if you fight it, you will exhaust yourself and not be able to beat the tide of the ocean. And it's a powerful analogy for us in those negative vortex moments to just recognize, hey, I'm in a negative vortex. This is going to have its flow. And instead of fighting it and pretending like it's not there, you recognize it for what it is. Let it carry you and then have the strength to pull yourself out using those different things that you know already help you to get out of it. Now for you, those things might be different. I go back to the example again from the movie Split, I'm sorry, but for that guy who had these multiple personalities, it was this girl who was the only one who had the ability to bring him out of that space. And I think it's a powerful image because for you, that thing might be different. Maybe it's good food. Maybe it's talking to an old friend. Maybe it's going for a walk. But you find those things that allow you to recognize, hey, I'm in a negative space. This is going to pull me back to the light, so to speak. It's going to allow me to come back into this place of self.